everybody, and welcome to another infamous podcast. I'll be your host today, along with my good friend Jeremy. My name is Parker, and most people know me as Dr. Mantis Toboggan, MD, on forums.
Are you a medical doctor or just a PhD? Like, which version? MD is medical doctor, right?
Yeah, it's a medical doctorate.
Medical. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
What is the
Yes.
field? Mantisry? Is that a thing? Do you operate on mantises?
Wouldn't that be ironic if Dr. Mantis Toboggan went and got a medical degree for mantisery? How would that feel your very first class? You walk in and you go, sorry, is your name Mantis Toboggan? Because you do know this is Mantisery 101.
Oh my God. Well, this is Jeremy. I go by Not Brandon at notbrandon.com. Yeah, so it's just me and Parker running about aimlessly, firing blanks at whatever comes up.
Basically, yeah. We are wildly speculating today.
Wildly.
All these things you hear may or may not be true because we have no safety net. We're just shooting from the hip.
I
Couple
feel like we are
announcements.
his safety net. Let's be honest.
That's true. He's not really our guiding star so much as our rail.
How many episodes is he going to be deducted now?
Him?
Oh, he needs to be punished, obviously.
Oh, okay. I've never been on the receiving end of this.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it. I'm already drunk with power. I don't understand.
First off, we're definitely going to hold him down
lightweight.
and shave his head. I mean, obviously.
Okay.
That's the
Makes
first
sense.
one. Yeah.
Shaved head deal. Ugh. I don't even like the thought of that.
Isn't that awful?
You know what? I'm willing to do it.
But you're willing to do it for the podcast.
I'm willing to do it for the podcast, but
Sweet.
not for myself. I would run screaming. I would just run right into the street and light myself on fire before I cut my hair off.
It's like Parker's crying. We have to let him up.
No. So I can tell you that while Brandon will deserve gross punishment, Parker, myself, it says Parker has 988 more of probation. I have a lot of probation left, but I get 50 taken off if 50% of my students are still wearing masks at the end of March, which right now I am not going to win that bet unless something really drastic happens real fast. Like maybe that day I put like a green smoke bomb in the air vents or something and everybody puts it back on. I don't know what I'm going to have to do, but I'm probably losing those 50 episodes. I also owe Jeremy 11 pizza rolls, which I'm glad to repay.
Yes, sir.
And exactly what he needs me to. I want you to know there are some words I can't say. I'm going to let you say the ones I can't say because obviously I can't say them.
Let me see here.
I could try to do charades for them if you don't have them in front of you.
I just pulled him up. Well, I'm trying to pull him up. He's got them hidden somewhere.
Maybe this is why we need Brandon.
It is
kind of stuff.
Antiquing. What's the other one? Blade.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of them.
These are yellow fruit. You eat them in like a Hawaiian pizza.
Pineapple. Yeah. Oh, I see it. Pineapple, blade, antiquing, and asterisk.
Yeah, asterisk. Ah, crap.
Oh, no, you did.
No.
I got you, motherfucker.
989.
You fell for it.
I was really pleased that I didn't just start saying it. Darn it. Okay.
This podcast is a disaster already.
Yeah, already. Okay, so I want you to know, even though Brandon's not here to enjoy it, I finally, after weeks and weeks of intense drought, I have news.
News.
All right. So news this week is we got the official grunt rules from the Elektra and Daredevil box. We're assuming they're going to be the same exact rule printout in the Nick Fury box, but we have it from an unboxing of the Elektra box. So a lot of it is stuff we already know. For example, when parent characters are dazed, you can't activate grunts. If they're KO'd, the grunts are removed. A lot of things like that. They don't get power. They can't play Team Tactics cards. They can't gain effects from Team Tactics cards. All those things were already known. But one thing that was kind of a little bit fine print, right, stuck in one of the middle of the very first rule on here, is that we knew that grunt characters have to activate with their parent. What we did not know is they must actually activate before the parent character's activation.
Mm.
The reason why this is pertinent is for things like Daredevil's attack that actually gets stronger if your ninjas are nearby. So if you need to move Daredevil into the spot where the ninja is to expect to get an attack, that actually will only happen. Basically, if you're moving Daredevil first and you need the ninja to move before Daredevil moves in order to get the bonus from Daredevil's attack, you won't necessarily um, sorry, if Daredevil needs to move first in order to make it happen. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, is there a possibility for Daredevil to not to get the bonus if you want to? Because first you have to move the ninjas, they move first, then Daredevil moves. I guess if no, I can't think of a situation. I was really desperately trying. I really thought I had something there. Is there any negative to moving the grunt first? Can you think of one? I can't.
No, because there's no counter charge in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't do a thing. It doesn't matter. It's only
Oh,
good,
I guess
actually.
I guess the only thing that could happen is, um, for example, if you're like moving towards a Mysterio or a Cassandra Nova or something,
You get booby trapped.
then yeah, you're kind of like you're the grunt would maybe take the movement trick first or something. I don't know, but unless there's some weird reaction to you moving a model or attacking with a model, so maybe there's some weird like interaction with reaction that means you might have to stare at it for a second to because the grunt has to go first. But that's the only thing I guess I can think of because the rules as written on Daredevil, Elektra, and Nick Fury, I don't think that could be a negative right now. But that is something to consider that you always have to do the grunt first. You can't do them after.
I still feel like,
Um,
regardless of how it comes out, that grunts are going to be a problem. I can't imagine that they're good for the game. I'm still on that. I
oh,
think this is bad.
worth a note is there's no mention on here about grunts interacting with any particular team rules right now, so we have to wait if they want to reprint Thanos or
Mm,
be specific with Thanos. For example, the uh, the black um, the Black Order has a
hmm
rule that if you kill an enemy, you get a victory point. So far, it looks like that works on grunts, but there's nothing on here that says they don't count as a character for some reason. But um, what makes you wonder if they're going to be negative to the game?
Just always these kind of tokeny type things are problematic in every other game I've ever played. I mean, I
Mm,
just don't. I like superheroes being superheroes. This is just, I don't know. It just doesn't feel good. It's PTSD from every other game that exists. Like
mhm.
these tokeny kind of things that hop out and are little helpers tend to be problematic. I mean, maybe they figured it out. Let's hope they did. But I'm just not excited.
The one thing that I considered is if you need two power, you may want to attack a hand ninja because the likelihood of them rolling a defense, like if you roll 3 hits, you're getting two power,
Hmm
like that kind of thing. Like they're, I was just trying to think of a reason why could be bad. I guess if your opponent wanted power and had hand ninjas to gack, the hand ninjas are probably not fending off of 3 dice, 3 dice hits, three
hmm
hits on a attack roll. So like things like that maybe, but again, that's a real thing. Like in some games they'll purposely put like an anti-infantry tech in the game where if you have this anti-infantry ability, if you have tons of little dudes, it's actually going to just mow them all down and give you some sort of benefit on top of it, right? Like it gives you some cool thing for eating souls or gathering meat for a grinder or a machine or something. And we don't have anything like that in this game except for the Black Order ability. So right now, yes, it's just a benefit. It's probably just to your benefit all the time because bodies are such a big deal. They can't cap control points though, which is not nothing.
Yeah. It'll probably
Uh,
be fine. It's just me feeling like, again, I have shock from the other games.
well, the good news is one of the characters that you can put a grunt with is Elektra. So that's a 4 cost tax to play a ninja. So
Wait, though, uh, did she come out with any cards that are helping cards?
okay, here we go. We got cards. Good
Oh,
tangent. Good tangent.
you see, I
We're
did it.
a well-oiled machine here
We don't,
on
yeah,
Infamous.
we don't even need Brandon. See how we
Yeah,
did that?
basically. So we do have some tactics cards that were spoiled along with the unboxing of that grunt instructions. We know that one of the team tactics cards is called Vendetta. It's an unaffiliated reactive card. It says when an allied character is dazed or KO'd by an enemy effect, an allied Electra may play this card for no power. It just happens. Mark the enemy character that caused the effect with a Vendetta token. The next attack made by Electra targeting that character with a Vendetta token adds 3 dice to its attack roll. After the attack is resolved, remove the Vendetta token. So, yeah. It would work with hand ninjas. So, like if somebody kills your hand ninja, then they would get vendetted, and Electra could attack them and then die.
Yeah, I mean, it gives an
It's,
extra 3-die attack for a tactics spot. One
mhm,
attack by a model that's not very good.
mhm.
Dude.
I was looking for like the real awesome thing that she would get for it, but like she would, the attack would like more if it's her ancient throwing blades, it would more than the 3 dice would help it pierce and bleed,
You
not
know, this card
like
seems like
crazy
one
things.
of those cards that should be able to, if in faction, you just use it every turn. You know what I mean? Like that would
Yeah.
make Electra okay. Like she would be
Uh
able to
huh.
get an 8 dice attack every time someone died. That'd be kind of cool.
Or the impale, right, where you get like a cool 11 dice
Yeah,
attack if you get everything to go off. That seems interesting.
but it's not.
It's not. She's just bad.
It's not that.
Not that. So sad. Um, we also got a criminal syndicate card, No Mercy. It's got some really cool art with Shadowlands Daredevil, and a bunch of ninjas behind him, and a giant full moon. It's super cool looking. It's a reactive card that says when an allied character would daze an enemy character, the allied character may play this card. This character gains 3 power. Um,
In criminals, that's actually kind of good. I
it's
don't.
not horrible. The problem is, I guess what I was we talked about this a little bit earlier with Daredevil. I'm so excited to play criminals with Daredevil because they have so many awesome cards
Hmm.
already,
Yeah.
like Twist the Knife and uh, um, the one that gives you super stealth. I can't remember the name of it right now. I'm gonna be bad and not know the name of this, so I'm gonna figure it out. But super stealth card and all according to plan. These are all great cards
Hmm.
that actually have a really good home in a combat style criminals, and this is one of the reasons why we didn't see those cards all the time because criminals didn't really have a good reason to take them, but now they absolutely do. Shadow Organization, that's the name of it. Yeah. So like I love the idea of those cards. So this card would have to be better than those cards, and I don't think it's that. But for the standard potato style, I actually think this is better. Do you agree?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I was sitting there looking at tactics cards just yesterday, and I'm looking at 10 different cards, and I was like, none of these matter at all because 4 of the spots are guaranteed taken. So like,
Mhm.
I don't know how this fits in. Maybe some are special, but I'm just imagining using a spender and then playing this afterwards because there's so many times
Yeah.
where you do that and then you're dead with no power. So it
Hmm.
would be cool on possibly a I don't know a bodyguard type thing or I don't know. So you just
Hmm.
have power after it. I'm sure it has a place. I don't know where it is.
Yeah. I think any card in the game that says gain 3 power is probably not worth a tactic slot. Probably. However, this is one of the easier things to happen. Like this will happen.
Yeah.
Like you said, you'll play a spender sometime in the game and it will daze someone. So this actually would go off. And unlike some of the other gain power cards like fucking X Forces, like if you have somebody on the opponent's team who has the highest point total and you daze them, then someone on your team will get their power back for spending this card. You're like, oh, that's horrible. Like this is terrible. But this one is actually like it's free. It just sits there. It will probably happen, and you'll probably use the 3 power. So it's not the bottom of that barrel, but I don't know if that barrel is fantastic. Our next card, Cruel Tutelage. Another criminal syndicate active card. During a criminal syndicate character's activation, it may spend 1 power only to play this card. The next attack made by this character this turn adds 3 dice to its attack roll. If the attack roll contains one or more skull results, if this fails, the attacking character gains the stagger special condition at the end of its activation.
Hmm.
So spend a power, add 3 dice, but the dice, that roll is slightly booby trapped. Slightly.
Yeah, that's pretty scary stuff. I mean,
The one thing the one thing I
hmm,
will say about it actually is you can play it on a character that's going all out and planning on getting dazed. Like, there are a lot of 3-point criminals that are kind of paper tigers. So you can play this on, a Hood, for example, who's got 1 HP left, and now he's actually going to, like, kick your ass with a big ass chain lightning or something. There are characters in the game that I think you're not too scared of getting staggered because you're planning on activating them first, or you've stolen the initiative with all according to plan maybe, and now you want to be sure that your character is going to do a lot during that activation you stole, and you don't care because if your opponent just lets you sit there with that awesome character in the middle of them and never attacks them because they're already staggered, that sounds like a win.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Um,
so.
what I'm looking at here is you could play all of these 3 cards all at once.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's one of the more ignorant things you could do, but look at that. Electra then cripples herself. Congrats.
If she dazed somebody, by the way, that's only
If you daze
if
somebody,
she
correct. Yes, if somebody gets dazed.
then you have 3 extra power and you're crippled. Yeah, you did it.
Ta-da!
I was also trying to think if there are some characters in the game that can't be staggered. I don't know if any of them can play in Criminal Syndicate. Or is it only Dormammu who can't be staggered? Is he the only one?
Probably.
If he is, then he's not a criminal, obviously. I was trying to think. I don't think is Hulk staggerable?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, maybe it's just Dormammu who's immune to stagger. He might be the
correct.
only one. But there are characters, because stagger you have to use your first activation. So if you had one of the abilities that also removes a special condition, I think that's why this is a criminal card, because I don't know where that exists that criminals could have it. I was trying to think if there's some way. There's a bunch of X-Men. There's an X-Men card that does it. I think there's an Inhuman card maybe. But criminals, I don't think criminals have another card that they have access to.
Blade could shake it. Blade would be funny.
But don't you have to do it first? But I guess you could use superpowers before you do any actions.
Yeah.
So yeah. So Blade does it say a criminal character has to be the one who does it?
No,
it has to be a Criminal Syndicate character's activation. So no, Blade cannot.
Oh, it has to? I thought it said.
Yeah, it says during a Criminal Syndicate
I was
character's
looking at the
activation.
other card. Yeah.
So yeah, they purposely tied that up. So nah, I think it's like I said. I don't think if you wanted for some reason to get 3 extra damage dice in criminals, and you were nervous about the result, but because remember, you might just not give a shit. You might just like not roll it.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't roll a skull, it doesn't matter. But if you do roll a skull on a character, like I said, that you're activating really early, and it's like a 3-point character that you want to hit way above their weight class, and then they stagger themselves, and your opponent goes, well, I'll just forget attacking them, and then the Hood's alive for an extra turn when he definitely should have died. That sounds great. So I'd like to play it, but I feel like this negative condition is actually not one that's 100%, and when it does go off, I don't know how much you care if you're running the criminals that I'm picturing running it with a bunch of tiny guys with a lot of bullets.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously they're trying to do something special for Daredevil's team, but I still don't see it. I mean, there's such good cards already out.
Right. This is horrible with MODOK. For the love of God and all this holy, don't let your MODOK get staggered for this. This is silly.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Next card is called Bounty Hunters. It's our first card featuring Silver Sable. We assume she's going to be in this game at some point, but she's on the art. It says after deployment is complete, an allied Electra or allied Taskmaster may play this card. It's a Criminal Syndicate card, by the way, so if you're playing criminals with those two. Mark the enemy character with the highest threat value with a bounty token. If the marked character is dazed or KO'd by the character that played this card during its activation, the character that played this card immediately makes 1 action after the effect is resolved and the bounty token is removed. If there is a tie for the highest threat value, choose one of the tied characters to receive the bounty token. Jesus God. Did they just give that one to Killmonger and then went, well, we could never do that again, so all these other like target the highest character cards have got to be ass. We got to make sure they're really bad. This is so bad.
Yeah, I mean, neither of those characters have a way to move themselves, right? Like they're kind of stuck where they're at.
Yeah, Taskmaster's just there. Electra can, if she deals damage to an enemy character, she gains an extra power. When this character damages enemy character with attack, after the attack is resolved, she can place within one of the damaged character, but she can only do that once. So she could, if she attacks the character with the highest threat value, kills them, and still has somehow 2 power afterwards. Because by the way, she can't gain power for her attacks. She only gains power if she deals damage, and she only gains 1 power ever.
I mean, your opponent kind of has
Ugh,
to
Jesus.
let this happen. I mean,
Yes.
it's here you go. I guess kill my 5-point model.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
For, get this, an extra action.
Yep.
Whoa.
Oh
On
man.
Electra,
Are you liking it?
or Taskmaster. Whoa.
Oh my
Like,
god.
this is so sad.
Well, Taskmaster's actually way better in this situation. He gets shitloads of dice after he's attacked you once.
No, it's after he's attacked once. Isn't that right?
So after he's attacked once. No, he gets it against
No,
the
I think it's
defense.
after he gets attacked, right?
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think he has.
different. Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he does add dice for your his spender adds dice for your opponent's physical defense, and they can't modify or reroll dice. It's really cool. It's a really great attack for 2 power, but no, he only gains dice as he gets attacked, not is attacking others.
Yeah. No. What is this supposed to do? I don't understand.
This gives a Taskmaster or an Electra an extra action if they are able to go up and daze your opponent's biggest character.
Can they use the action
Like
to
this.
attack their allied Electra or Taskmaster?
It's terrible. Like I said, I think it's 100%. They were terrified whenever they printed. I'm looking for the name of it because its name eludes me again. Killmonger's card, Usurp the Throne. I think they were terrified with Usurp the Throne when they realized that they can give somebody 2 VPs for downing a big character. So every other kill the big character card has been just absolutely ass. Cat and Mouse for X Force is just Dirty Work is the one. Dirty Work for X Force is just terrible.
Yeah.
And
I mean, these are just
this one is just
flavorful
equally horrible.
cards that just are a thing you can do.
Yeah. Now this last one,
it's a thing.
This last one, Shuriken Arashi. They are getting okay. So while they're getting really ballsy with the make a different kind of attack tactics cards, they're shrinking in for the kill your opponent's big ones. So here's your all right, everybody. We know you like tactics cards that do attacks, so let's see how you like this apple. Shuriken Arashi. It is a range 3, 10 dice attack. Before creating the dice pool for this attack, the target character may advance short. Then, if the target character is benefiting from cover from this attack rolls 5 fewer attack dice. After this attack is resolved, remove all allied hand ninjas from the battlefield. So you'll sacrifice your hand ninjas that you have, but they will just pepper somebody with Shuriken. But I guess since ninjas are super not sneaky and everybody can see them coming, your opponent gets to move short.
So weird.
Before you do it.
It is so weird.
So how do you get this to go off? Well, during Shadowlands Daredevil's activation, you may spend 2 power to play the card. If there is an allied hand ninja character within 2 of him, Shadowlands Daredevil may use the Shuriken Arashi attack. So, the range, cover, and LOS are all measured from the hand ninjas instead of Shadowlands Daredevil. So if Daredevil is close to his hand ninjas, which is honestly probably where they'll be most of the time, probably because he's always getting a benefit to his attacks by being around the hand ninjas when he's doing it. So he's most likely going to be there anyway. But you actually measure from the ninjas and spend 2 on Daredevil, and then you get to do a 10 dice attack that allows your opponent to move short, and then if they benefit from any cover. This is very interesting.
I mean, you're going to have to be within, like, what, 1? Like, you're going to have to be actually very close to make this work at all. Because you'll just move outside of 3, right?
Yeah. How close would you have to be? Now I'm wondering. How close is it just...
So it seems like you would easily be able to move out of the 3, or at least fairly easily, or, find some cover or something. Like, your model has to be damn near base to base to be certain that you're not going to catch cover.
Yeah, I'm actually
And pull out a
pulling out the
template.
templates right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm trying to see
it's closer than
like
people
what
would like.
range. Yeah, what range would you actually have to be for your opponent not just be able to walk directly backwards?
They're like, "Hey, ninjas, let's get away from them."
What a weird. Also, what a weird card. Instead of ninjas being surprising at all, it's ninjas goes surprise. We're ninjas.
Surprise, bam.
Now you have a moment to think about it. What would you like to do? You're like,
Not only are they
be
ninjas,
attacked by
they're
the
ninjas
ninjas. You're
with
like, okay,
Chinese stars in their hands, just getting ready to throw them.
yeah. So if you are within range 2 of your target, exactly range 2, they could easily leave, easily just walk out. If you are within range 1 of your target, they cannot walk out. And there's a little bit of space beyond that, a little bit. So it looks like range about 1 3/4 is where they can't just walk directly away.
So your hand ninjas basically need to go and damn near base them or whatever, or be pretty close.
Yeah.
And then not let them get cover.
Yeah. So this is not really the card basically looks like they're attacking with like shuriken and shit, but they're more actually just attacking with a fuckload of knives. It's what's actually going on.
Yeah.
Because yeah, your opponent can just. It's so weird that it has this weird restriction that if your opponent gets cover, because honestly, I don't know how you're going to get cover because where you would need to start the attack in order for them to not just move directly away from you and miss is really difficult to get cover. They're probably boxed in anyway. They may not be able to move left or right enough to get cover.
That's just
So
strange
I don't
that
even
it
know
lets
if
them
that.
move. I mean, that's really
Yeah.
wild, right?
Also, I just realized this. Okay, so it's a range 3 attack, right? From the ninjas. So range 2 from where they can possibly move. Oh, Jesus. It is so hard. No, it's impossible. If you can. I'm trying to look at this. If you're standing here, you're a ninja. Because you can't get cover within range 2. So it says the target is benefiting from cover. Does that just mean does that supersede the cover rule? Because you don't get cover bonus for being within range 2. But I'm guessing because this is printed on a card. Does that say
No,
the
it's
target
meaning
character
after
is
they
benefiting?
move, right?
Right. So after they move.
Uh-huh.
Oh, because it says after they move, if the target is benefiting from cover.
So if they
from this
move
attack,
behind a wall or next to a wall or something, that's all it is.
Yeah, but I'm looking at it. It's not super easy. I'm gonna say that's actually going to be kind of hard to do all the time. Maybe I'm wrong and my math is messed up, but I'm just looking at the templates here going, they're probably going to be within range 2 of you. No, actually, if they move short, yeah, it's actually really difficult. So yeah, they're going to get, if they can move away and behind another object to get intervening terrain or whatever, then they could get -5 dice. Yeah, so I guess it is possible. It's likely, but they can't move sideways to get it because then you're still just within range 2 of them. So they have to move away and around something.
Yeah.
Also, a brief note is if they're a big character, that's just maybe impossible. There may be no terrain around. So if they're a size 3 or 4 character, you're just going to get that.
No, they're just going to simply be out of range. If they're on a big base, they'll be out of range.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they go way
base
further.
Is going to count.
Yeah.
Oh,
they
Jesus,
go way further.
You're right. Yeah.
If you're big and dumpy, you just escape.
Yeah. So the best case scenario is like Magneto on a larger base but a smaller size, or Mordo or something like that, because they're just so big, they'll just leave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a weird card. I'd still
wait. Hold on. No. The size of your base does not matter, right? Oh no, the size of your base does matter. Yeah, it does a little bit. I think the large base size, the largest one, will matter a little bit because it does extend that small move enough from the other side of the base. Is like you said, I think if you're basing them, I don't think there's anything they could do, even if they're a big base. But that's basically it. Like you said, you'll have to activate if you want this to go off. If you have 2 power on Daredevil, your hand ninjas move first. They base the model you want to Shuriken Arashi. Then Daredevil gets close enough for this to happen if he's not already, and then you'll get it. So let's say that all these little asterisks they put in this card don't seem to matter as much as they actually do. When you look at it first, you're like, oh man, I'll really be able to play against Shugen Rashi. I don't know how much you'll actually get to play against this. It's more just, can you stop the ninjas from basing your character, right? If you can, then the Shugen Rashi is probably not happening. So if we know that if a ninja bases your character, you can get hit by this card. Is this a good enough card? Is rolling 10 dice for 2 power on Shadowlands Daredevil and losing your ninja for a moment, because he might just come back immediately, right? Because your second action
Yeah,
is
I think it's fine. It seems good. I'm just looking at the other cards. So can you cruel tutelage these guys?
No, because the ninjas are making the attack, right?
And do they not count as? Oh, they're not criminal syndicate, are they? They're just.
No, they are criminal syndicate, but you specifically says, well, no. Let's look back at that rule again, because it says grunt characters cannot play team tactics card, but they're not the one playing it. Shadowlands Daredevil is playing it. So does Daredevil also play the cruel tutelage? I don't think he does.
Yeah, they
But
can't
it
do it
is,
because
but
it's
it
this
is, but
character.
it is during his activation. No, I guess
No,
the
they can't.
range, cover, and LOS are measured from the hand ninjas, but it is still Daredevil's attack. So yeah, you could do that.
Is it?
You
It's
could
not
cruel
Daredevil.
tutelage this.
No, it's not Daredevil's attack.
It is, right? Yeah, because it says Shadowland Daredevil may
Oh,
use the
that's
Shuriken Arashi
true.
attack. Yeah.
So
So since
then,
it is,
can he cruel
yeah,
tutelage that?
yes, you could.
So then,
For, so if you had 3 power, you could do both. 13 dice attack.
and would it stagger? It would stagger Daredevil though, right?
Likely, if you have to roll only 1 skull, and so later it would stagger him. Not that activation, but the next one.
Huh. Might be. I mean, that's a thing. Sure, why not?
I don't know if I need 13. I think if I'm probably throwing 10,
You
I probably
think
feel
that until
fine.
you've played Juggernaut, goddammit.
That's true. Um, Again, this one is competing. There is another. The thing is, in criminals, there's already an attack card that's amazing that criminals don't play very much now because they don't have a super attacking list. But cruelty is so much a better card than this, because it rolls 5 dice at range 5, and you get to choose when it happens after you've already done attacks, and the yeah, you don't get to add crits and stuff to it, but it's a mystic attack.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that 13 dice is a thing. I mean,
Mhm.
that is a humongous punch to the
Yeah.
gut. Like, whereas everything else can spike or whatever. So look, your average on what 5 dice is usually like 2.5. So it could
Mhm.
be 2, could be 4, but it's generally 2 or so. 13, you're talking 6.5.
Mhm.
I mean, that's
Uh,
dropping most 4-point models.
also a fair expectation is that Daredevil, if you're attacking a model with an objective or near of
Hmm.
token, he's rerolling 1. If Hood is in your list, you're probably rerolling 2. So it's 10 dice or 13 dice, rerolling 2 of them.
I mean,
By the
that's.
way, by the way, remember, you can reroll skulls if you're attacking somebody with objective with Daredevil. So when
Hmm.
you use Cruel Tutelage, if you roll only 1 skull, you could reroll that. so
Nice.
if you have Hood, you can reroll 2 of them. So it's actually um, not impossible to ignore Cruel Tutelage's negative, and so you don't automatically have to take it if you're playing Daredevil criminals, which you are if you're doing Shuken Arashi because it's Daredevil's card. Oh, I'm sorry. You could be playing Fisk at leadership, but
Hmm.
I think if you're playing Shadowlands Daredevil, you're probably playing his leadership.
It's just a big that's a humongous punch when you need it. I mean, I think it's kind of
Mhm.
cool.
It is going to be. I will say, I think it's going to be really hard to stop Daredevil from doing this because it only costs 2 power. Cruel, 3 power for the other one. And a little note about this is it doesn't require the hand ninjas to have a not activated token. So Daredevil could actually have no hand ninjas on the board and still do this.
Hmm.
Because if he moves once, does his regular attack, a hand ninja pops out, and then he's ready to do it. If he doesn't have to move once and you're already next to him, then he just hits you once. The hand ninja pops out, and for his second trick, he throws this card down.
Hmm.
So he can just kind of out of nowhere do 2 big ass attacks. because his basic attack is not nothing when the hand ninjas are around.
Yeah. Well, again, you pay what, 13? You 13 power to get something like that from what is it called? The laser beam of
Hmm.
Tony Stark, or Tony's laser beam.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The satellite
Orbital
beam thing.
bombardment.
Yeah.
So I mean, you get that for 2 power with this thing.
Hmm. Also, Daredevil's kind of like because he has stealth. He is actually one of those characters that usually your opponent has to come to,
Hmm.
because he's totally fine just hitting you with batons from way far away, right? Um, so if your opponent ever comes to you, then that's when you can just like coordinate a strike, and then here's a ninja and Shuriken Arashi. Here we go.
I would definitely play around it. Like I wouldn't like that to happen to any of my characters. Like you'd be like, "Oh God, I don't want that to happen to me."
Mhm. I think it is. I think it's big enough. It's kind of like the Stark cards. It's like Ricochet Blast. It's kind of a boogeyman. You really don't like it to happen. And unlike um, the Ricochet Blast, where I feel like I might be able to take down Iron Man before he gets to do it, or at least like knock him down. It's hard to do it, but I might be able to. But this one, you have to take down Daredevil, and on his front side, he is a monster. I think to take down. He's gonna when he comes out. I think people are gonna go, "Oh, it's just Daredevil. I'll go up and daze him." And you're like, "Really? He's better than Black Panther. Are you gonna daze him?" Like, you're like,
Hmm.
"Oh, he is better than Black Panther defensively. Shit." Like, I guess I'm not just gonna daze him.
And that's still to say that
So
it might not be the best card in the world, but I think it's cool.
no. I it will definitely be on my. I think it'll make my 10. I think it's too strong not to.
Sure. I mean,
Um,
you if you see a Juggernaut, if you see a Thanos, I mean, the models
mhm,
that need those big hits, like
mhm.
they really are going to take a punch from that.
And that's actually a really good point. Something I just came to me when I used to play the subpar version of Bucket of Bullets, where everybody had rapid fire,
Hmm.
which is what I'm going to do again with this Daredevil list. That was the one thing it didn't like to see, is somebody who didn't care about 3 damage, or two
Yep.
damage, or um, and characters like Thanos, just I hated seeing them, because I was like, oh well, he is never gonna die. I cannot get him unless I spike really hard on a finisher at some point. Um, but this card is a lot more
Hmm.
palatable, a lot easier, because you don't have to wait for a finisher. You don't have to wait for some alignment of stars to get something to happen. It's just if Daredevil is there and Thanos is also there, I might just get it to happen.
It's super
Um,
cheap too.
Thanos
I
might,
mean, that's cool.
yeah, yeah. So that was the news. Let's go on
Perfect.
to playing currently. Um, I'll let you start, Jeremy, because I hear that the Midnight Suns done you wrong, and so
So
you're
yeah,
now moved on.
I like to switch up my stuff that I'm playing. I think I probably switch up every month. That's about where I go. Play about 4 weeks of the same thing, just to see how it feels, on the whole, as it goes.
Mm,
Um, so I tried Midnight Suns. I've been looking at Blade a lot, and I like him. I think he's pretty cool. But the problem with the whole faction or the whole affiliation is they simply don't move. I mean, it seems like they move, but they don't move your opponent. So they
mm,
really want to fight. However, right now web warriors are super hot, and anything that moves you is super hot. So they just don't have control. They have no control of the board. So they have to come up, throw a bunch of dice at you, and then pray. Um, and I found that to be, okay. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. But at the end of the day, you're still scoring points, and all I can do is really contest it. I can't do a lot about it. I'm at the mercy of dice. Um, it's a pretty tough sell. So I got kind of frustrated with that, and I said, well, if I'm going to play a dice game, then I really enjoyed playing Dormammu for dice. And the reason I stopped playing him is because Dormammu is all about dice, except he does have the ability to push you back, and also Hex if you decide you want to fight him. So he has some good effects. Um, and then I added in X Force because X-23 and Honey Badger are absolutely sick. Um, those two are just disgusting. I've seen nothing but murder and blood, and if you're going to fight, they should be in your list. They are 100% attrition. They don't care about anything. X-23 can take down a house. Like, she's just ridiculous. And an X-Force with the double reroll, I mean, she's doing 4, 5, even 6 damage every time she attacks. And that's cutting right through armor. It's really ridiculous. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm playing right now. X-Force is still dragged down by Cable's 5 points. I'd love to see him at 4 points and like take his throwaway or something. But
Mhm.
it's fine. It's fine because I mean I feel like
Or maybe that amazing,
X-23
maybe that
is
amazing
closer to 4
spender,
points, and I feel like Cable is the amazing spender of Cable.
the amazing spender that I have never found a
Jesus
way to
Christ.
use.
Omaxitron Ultraway or whatever the hell it's called. What is it even called?
A Scotty Sun.
Yeah, whatever the fuck. It sounds like a
Yeah.
drink. But
I always thought it sounds like somebody about to address somebody in Japanese, like Scotty Sun. Like it sounds like that.
God. So yeah, I'm playing X-Force and Dormammu in there now, and I feel a lot better about it. I'm playing with models that I enjoy playing instead of playing with Blade plus his friends. Like, I don't know, Blade's friends are stupid. I don't like most of those models. I couldn't hate Iron Fist more. Like, I don't like his model. His ability is once in a 6-round game, he gets to do something cool. The rest of the time, he just dies. Moon Knight, Lord. That guy just takes it. He takes it on the chin, like he just dies.
Yeah.
There's just I don't know, man. Whatever.
Have you tried? Have you tried putting, since you like Dormammu so much? Have you tried putting Iron Fist in Dormammu? I still wonder if that works. I don't know if it works.
Why
But
would I
wonder
want
if it
him in
works.
there?
I know you don't. Maybe this is polishing a turd, but I feel like the things that he really wants to do is he wants to live, and
Uh-huh.
Dormammu just brings it back to life, right? And he wants to get enough power to do his thing more often, and Dormammu does that for him too. And I I had this crazy idea for like actual heroes for hire, but Dormammu hired them, so it's just Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Dormammu, and that's like your start. That's your 14 points, and then you can do other things from there. But I wondered if that worked because we know that Luke Cage works great with him. He's just such a rock
So
to
let me tell you
that
why
they can
none of
pivot
that
around.
matters.
Okay.
If I'm going to play Dormammu, X-23 plus Honey Badger will make you quit the game
Mm,
because he can bring either of those back, whichever you decide to kill, and you still have the healing card for your healing mutants. So good luck trying
mhm.
to kill either one of them. But when you do, one of them's coming back. I just, as a 3-point model, X-23 is the model. Like, that's all humongous damage. You don't worry about stunning or staggering anything in that list. It's pure murder.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I just Iron
Does
Fist every
does
time.
Dormammu do something? Does Dormammu do something for them besides the bring it back card? I'm just curious. Like, because they
Mhm.
have no way to spend their power
It
really.
makes
It's
um
very hard to spend their
it
power.
makes that special bodyguard happen on turn 1.
Hmm.
So nothing. She can just bodyguard turn 1. They both start moving. It gives her a charge on turn 1. There's to me, I think there's a lot going on there.
Okay.
And
Oh, there is the charge, so she can get in. She's only gonna get one attack, but she'll get an attack turn one almost positively. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, depending on what you're doing, I don't know. I haven't tried that version yet. I've only played this setup once, but I like all the models and I like what it does.
Mhm.
Um, Again, I like the bad guys. So this whole idea of moving my opponent's army, the bad guys don't do that so much. Like all the factions that are supposedly, quote unquote evil, don't
Mhm.
really do that. They just like to murder
Hmm.
stuff. So I'm constantly battling with how to murder things.
I'll actually challenge you there. My list right now that I'm playing with is the models I have because I gave all my models away to my painter, like all of them that weren't painted. I'm tired of playing gray stuff. But the thing I was actually toying around with before that was Cabal control because I was staring at things like Cassandra Nova and Mysterio with Red Skull. And I was like, I'm going to move my models whenever I want, and your models will never be where you want them to be. ever.
Hmm.
Not on your turn, not on my turn, never. You're never wanting, your models are never there. Because Mysterio's moving your models, Cassandra Nova's moving your models, and when you move towards me, Mysterio's moving your models, and Cassandra Nova's moving your models. And you've got to somehow get close to me and to get through my stealth, and yet you never ever will. Now, the problem with that is, how do you win? I was like, okay, so I can make sure they're never ever ever where they want to be, but then what? It's kind of like
And
the it's that old, was that South Park episode where they find the underpants gnomes, and he goes, "Why are you taking all the underpants?" And he goes, "Let me show you our business model." And he like pulls up the cards, it's this big card that says, "First, steal underpants. Second, it's a big question mark. Third, profit." You're just like, and the kids look at each other like, "What?"
yeah.
Like that, they never got to the second part. They just knew they needed to take the underpants. And that's kind of how I feel about my Cabal control list. I go, surely this would definitely make sure that all the models always move around. That sounds awesome.
Uh-huh.
Really consistent. Then what? Like, I don't know. I
Well, that
guess
could
you
be
went on
fun.
scenario I guess you went on scenario like spider people do, but I don't know how to, I still don't get it. I'm sure there's some way to win besides just beat up your opponent in the face,
Hmm.
but
Are you gonna put the great or what
um
is her name, ancient one in there? So move your opponent next to you.
yeah, there literally is. Yeah, I made it when I was done. It was all control-y shit and or my stuff moves. So it was like Sabretooth,
Hmm.
and because he moves, you're like when you attack him, it was basically the only character. The basic list was only stealthy models that you couldn't get close to, which is Cassandra Nova and Mysterio,
Hmm.
or models that you couldn't shoot at very easily, which was Sabretooth and Red Skull, because when you shoot at Red Skull, he just gives it to Sabretooth, and the Sabretooth moves towards you. Um, or things like Bob, where Bob's always standing next to Red Skull, so every time you shoot at Red Skull, Bob just takes it in the face, and who cares?
Hmm.
Um, so there's just tons of stuff like that. Was the point was kind of Mother May I was, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to shoot Red Skull. You're like, no, you're not. You're shooting Bob. Bob dies. Who gives a shit? You're like, oh, okay. Well, then I'll shoot at Cassandra Nova. You're like, nope, she has stealth, but not stealth. So your card that says move stealth doesn't actually do anything because it's not stealth. It just does the same thing as stealth. Like, okay, I'll move towards Cassandra Nova with a charge. You go, okay, she rolls dice. You move backwards. You're like, like that's the point is
Hmm.
that. But I guess I need to be better at picking. I think you have to be very, very intentional about like scenarios, because if you pick, same scenarios that spider people like, where you're crawling all over everything. But unlike spider people, you're not doing all the things they do for 3 points apiece. You're spending like 4 points and 5 points for everything you do. The only cheap model is kind of Bob and Mysterio. So I don't know. I don't know if it actually wins games. But man, I stared at Cassandra over a long time, going, "Is this thing a thing?" And I think it's actually a thing, but you have to have a serious like plan for what she's doing.
I feel
Um,
like if they would have, instead of having her and her ugly model, they brought out like Xavier
hmm
and had the same rules, I'd love to play that. Like I just hate her model.
yeah, yeah. You know what I really wish they did? I know this is gonna be a really like outside. I don't know who would know this character, but Onslaught. I kind of wanted them to do Onslaught. I thought that'd be cool. Which was Xavier's like midlife crisis or whatever. Um,
Hmm.
do you know about the character? Were you familiar with
No,
that
I don't
guy?
know what that is.
Basically, it's the concept of what was really cool is so Xavier is this like insane presence on the astral plane, right? The psychic plane that all creatures psychically inhabit simultaneously but aren't aware of. And he's this monstrous presence on this plane. He is the greatest human, genome psychic, right? And so if you took this man who has this enormous psychic presence, that he must also have this enormous subconscious psychic presence. So what if you also subjected that man to constant trauma and violent situations over and over and over and over again? Well, he'd have to deal with that subconsciously somehow. And the way that the most powerful psychic deals with psychic trauma building up is by basically unwittingly creating this sub personality that existed only on the astral plane called Onslaught. And he is basically just the manifestation of Xavier's negative psychic gestalt, the result of all this trauma he's experienced in his life. and he was insanely strong. Really cool, like, character, really cool concept. Doesn't that sound much more interesting than Cassandra Nova, his super mutant in the womb that he ate baby sister? Like, isn't that weird?
That's really weird.
Yeah. But Cassandra Nova does do some things like mind possession, which is a stupid attack. Range 3. After you do it, it's a 6 dice attack, by the way. Range 3. After you do it, you move your the character you target it just advances its speed.
That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, it costs 1.
Yeah, I was looking at her pretty hard the other day. I was like
Yeah.
seriously trying to figure out why she's not amazing.
hmm And I think it's because she doesn't blow up the world like MODOK does. She's got a similar kit, actually. Like, flesh manipulation is kind of like Rocket Chair, and Psionic Bolt is kind of like his basic Psionic Blast thing. Instead of the no wilds, she has like stealth that's not stealth. She has healing factor. She doesn't have a huge amount of health, but it is
She
7.
doesn't take collision, right? She pays the.
Yeah,
That's
she doesn't have to take
crazy.
collision damage. Yeah, it's really cool. Oh, also the biokinesis, if she for some reason is just flooded with power because she rolls a bunch of wilds on her sap power attack, um, she can just root and slow somebody for 3 power. Just wham, you're root and slowed. So now your character has to deal with root and slow and her mind position, and she still has psychic distraction. Mysterio just move you away during your activation. It's really cool.
Yeah, she's a mess. She has a mess of things she does.
Oh, by the way, if you're running healing, she's healing factor. So if you're running her and Sabretooth at the same time, which was my plan, then you're also running exceptional healing. So now you can't even one-shot her or Sabretooth.
Mm-hmm.
I swear it was a thing, man. I gave her to my painter, so I'm not playing her right now. But your statement that says I don't know if bad guys can move, I think it's because you have to go to all the stuff that people don't play, like Cabal Control, which is like Mysterio and Cassandra Nova.
I mean, there's MODOK. MODOK moves people. I mean,
And
also
MODOK's there. Yeah, MODOK's in the
Enchantress does
conversation.
too. I mean, there's a few,
Yeah.
but I always look towards Avengers because of their good throws and stuff. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the first time I use Cassandra Nova in this Cabal control list, I think I'm going to be super happy with her.
Oh
I
yeah,
think she's going to feel super cool. But again, you didn't have to win, right? Like, you're probably not killing anybody unless you get really lucky. So if you're not killing people, how are you winning? Anyway, so I'll tell you what I am playing right now, which is I'm going to play Guardians again because that's the stuff I have all the way painted. I didn't give it away to my painter, and so I'm going to do Guardians and other cool stuff that I have painted. So I'll probably do the thing I promised on the podcast like 4 years ago or maybe 2 years ago. I don't know when it was, but I was so excited for Angela because I love Angela in the comics. She's so cool, and I've never actually put her on the board. And Brandon has convinced me that she's bad so hard, but I'm going to try her anyway because she's painted.
Well, since you're talking about Guardians, let me tell you a story. So yesterday I played a game and I lost at Crisis Selection. Let me tell you how. I've never seen this combination in my entire life come up, and it's insane when it does. We drew Sword Base and Researcher, and I had to play against fucking Guardians of the Galaxy on that fucking mess. Imagine in your head being outnumbered and also having to fight in the middle or you auto lose. I had to move up into the most rain of fire bullshit whilst he was holding and flipping every time I would flip one. It was the dumbest shit ever. Like, I got so annihilated and blown off. And because it was those two, it was all or nothing. There wasn't any like, I'll score 1. No, it was score 5.
Right.
Score 5. Score 3. Like,
what were you playing? Were you playing the Dormammu or the X-Force? Or
I actually had to play unaffiliated just so I could get close to the model count because we were playing Sword. I'm like, I'm going to lose Sword. So I took the middle the first 2 rounds, but because he took Sword Base, he pushed me short every turn. He pushed Venom short every turn. Do you know how slow Venom is?
Yeah, it's terrible.
And he's horribly allergic to energy weapons.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it was so fucking sad. Like every
Yeah.
turn,
Venom, you feel. Yeah.
it was
Venom
so
feels
bad.
like a monster until he goes against Guardians. They have so many things that just make him feel silly.
It was again that crisis selection came up, and I had to choose either 14 or 16 points, and I was like, well, I think I auto lose 14, and at 16, going unaffiliated, at least I can put five models down that are killy, and like try to do something. But because I lost sword base, because I didn't realize how bad it would be to be pushed every turn, I I think sword base should be banned. Like I'm gonna say it right now. Sword base is
Really?
so stupid. You get
Mm.
3 points or nothing, and along with your 3 points, you get to just push somebody short of your opponents. That is such a win more bullshit thing. You've already
Yeah.
got the 3 points. So instead of having a mechanic that allows you back in the game, it's a mechanic that pushes you away from winning the game. So
Mm-hmm.
you're losing and also getting pushed. It's the dumbest thing. It's so stupid.
In I think almost every other situation, or most every situation in this game for scenarios, it's almost always okay. Yes, you scored some points, but now your opponent gets to poison you or
Uh huh.
stun you or do a damage to you.
Sword is the
Like
opposite.
your opponent gets to do something. It costs you not just positioning and effect. You actually are going to lose something for getting this place. But this is the only one that says nope. You just get your cake and eat it. You know
Hmm.
what? And you know what? Have more cake. It's
Yeah, and
it
because it
feels
was
really good.
researcher too. Like you don't have a
Hmm.
choice. You need to win both of these. You need to win
Hmm.
both. And winning one means the other one got way worse for you. It really was a mess. Like
Now, research, I find that Guardians don't always like research unless they're playing some mobile characters with their static characters. Were they able to move
no,
towards the
well,
token and stuff?
like I said, I won researcher the first 2 times.
Yeah,
But at
that
that
makes sense.
point, I was being hammered from the side points because everybody's got range.
Hmm.
From the
Yeah.
side points so hard, I started losing models and losing my
Hmm.
foothold. So then he was able to take the center as well. I mean, it just every activation he's getting both shots at me. I'm taking both barrels on everything. So I can't take sword base back. And even if I try, I still got a 50-50 shot of even flipping those things. I mean, it was the worst. It doesn't matter how many models you have on sword base. It's just a 50-50.
Yeah. Yeah. Guardians loves deployment C so much because they love it so much. I will almost exclusively play deployment Cs when I play Guardians because man, they love being able for Rocket and Groot to sit on one of those side places and just make whatever's in the middle is just dying. Like it's just gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to go over and like deal with them while they're doing their thing because it takes attention away from what's ever in the center and you because you always have points for like goddamn Hulk or Ghost Rider in the middle, messing with your shit too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I love my favorite deployment for them is D, because man, D feels
Sure.
great. Because
There's a lot of
Star Lord
distance.
Star Lord hangs out in the back, and then Rocket shoots to either point from his side position.
Yeah.
That feels really strong.
Well, that's
Yeah,
the end of my rant on that one. I ran
yeah
into that face first yesterday, and I'd never encountered that situation, and it just kind of blew my mind.
yeah. Sword does feel. It's kind of weird. It's almost like they designed Sword to hurt people's feelings so they don't play it.
Well, I
You know what I
think
mean?
they put it at
Like,
14,
mm-hmm,
and when it was designed before this random draw thing as well.
mm-hmm,
So there's a lot of elements to it that just don't make any sense in the game right now. Like the fact that it doesn't matter how many models you have, it's a 50-50. And if you're winning, you win more after. There isn't a bill. It should actually be the opposite. If the opposite
yeah,
happened, would make more sense with this game.
yeah. Yeah, the fact that you get to move an opponent after you've already scored three, sometimes because of just an RNG, right? You just roll a die. It's a die. Just roll
Uh
the
huh.
die. Yeah. You can't even game it with like bringing extra energy defense or extra
And
physical defense. You
I
can't even
mean,
do that.
in the kick to the
You just
face,
have extra guys.
I truly was trying to control the center one and also keep another one, and I had to like figure out what the timing was to get them, I failed 4 times in a row for the 50-50. Four
Mhm.
times. So what do you do then? Like, it has nothing to do with what I'm doing. I just failed it 4 times. Like, it didn't matter how much my energy or physical defense was like the other two. This one's just a 50-50. Have fun with it. Like, what in the hell?
And even I think it's even, and it feels even I. It feels bad when you go up against somebody with a bunch of little dudes. I think it feels even worse when you're going up against like spider people, because then you're just like, oh, I'm just going to move you off of this point. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
thank you. I'm just going to take this for free. Now you have to take it by either killing my spider person and then taking it, or
Yeah.
just roll a dice and get 50-50. Maybe the spider people don't mind it as much because they could just lose it for a 50-50 shot and they don't like that. But if they do keep it, because they usually have enough guys for that,
Uh-huh.
you're on top of all the other regular spider pushing. You're now just pushing somebody short on top of that. It feels like an extra spider push. Ugh.
Yeah, it's real bad.
I think it feels worse. I don't know if it is worse, but it feels worse.
It felt way worse this time than the other times I've played it. Um, and I don't know if it's just because I wasn't paying attention to the way the game is kind of normally played, but that one doesn't play right. Like, it just doesn't feel or play correctly. I don't know.
I think it is. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's the 3 points versus zero. I think actually that's the main thing. The moving short thing feels like icing on the cake, but I think that what you intimated there about like it makes the game feel different. I think it's actually that 3 point thing, because for the most part of this game, getting victory points is kind of a slow accumulation, or if it's not slow, it's actually semi even, right? You're actually seeing
Mm-hmm.
your opponent got 2 points and you got three. Well, that yeah, getting three victory points is a really good turn, but your opponent did get two, so it's still just a -1 sum, right? And you're like, okay, well, next turn I'm going to have a really good turn. I'm going to get 4 points. My opponent's only going to get one. We're like, well, now you're
Mm-hmm.
starting to talk about a lead, but that's still just plus, still just -3. If your opponent gets a really good turn, like you got that first turn, well, now you're just right back in it, right? So that's the way the game feels. This is give and take. But when you just do +3, +3,
Mm-hmm.
+3, that just feels different.
Oh, it's
Even if
bad.
you're trading, even if you're trading back and forth with your opponent, it's just +3 straight up, +3 straight up. It does feel different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the all or nothing ones are tough to deal with. Um, it's I don't know. I think the all or nothing ones, though, that say essentially it's going to cost you an extra success per guy that's there, you at least can deal, like, that makes sense. It's harder to take because there's more people. Like, you have set up a situation that makes it very difficult for your opponent to take it. Like, the sword
Mhm.
is just, it's bizarre. Like, nothing you do really matters aside from going after your opponent and being luckier.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't doubt to see that one dealt with, changed something. I don't see that one existing for a long time.
You think so?
Yeah.
I have this weird suspicion that this will never be touched. Even though it is obviously an outlier, I have this weird I don't know why. Don't don't ask me why.
I,
I have this weird idea it's not going to be touched.
I
And the
think,
reason why is
go
like
ahead.
because it's the game because it still takes a couple turns to actually lose, even though functionally you've lost on turn the second time it goes off.
I think
But I feel like
yeah, I
since it
think
takes
because
four turns,
it's an all or nothing, and there's only a few people who like playing 14,
hmm
and it's random. It's not a fair one. A lot of people are playing ones that are basically fair. Playing, there's
right?
4 points and you can get four if you have two. Like, it's all very fair. So most people
hmm
don't even play those in their pile, and that's one reason I've never seen this combination before in my whole life. Is because people don't play it anymore. But here it is,
Yeah.
and that's what happened. Especially because it's a 50-50 roll. Like, nobody wants to do that. Not when you're playing competitively. Like, you don't want to do that. Um, but maybe Guardians do. I mean, they actually played really good on it. They did great.
hmm
Like, 14's fine for them. They dig that. And they
Oh
can do a
yeah.
great job with putting two guns on the outside.
Yeah. Yeah. You're totally fine. Like, let me think. Uh, Star Lord, Groot, uh, Rocket. That's the 8 points. At 14, you could drop Drax and a random 3 pointer like Winter Soldier or something like that,
Hmm.
and you just hold the two on the outside and watch your opponent cry if they can't score 3 a turn
And
while you're scoring plus
ha,
3 a turn.
had it not been researcher, I would have been
Mm-hmm.
able to use resources to go out and deal with those flank pieces.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's fucking researcher, you need all your pieces in the center. It was insane. I'm telling you, it was the dumbest thing ever. I a couple turns in, I was just chuckling of how dumb it was. I was like, this is so stupid. I'm getting so murdered right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's nothing. You're never. I don't think you're ever going to be happy about that showing up.
No.
All right. So we've been cooking. We were doing like podcasting this whole time. You notice that?
We've been
This has been great.
we have been doing excellent, and I'm pretty sure Brandon didn't think we would do good, and we're doing great.
I know. He thought this is just going to be all right. Something, I guess, a turd
I've read several. There's been several messages that have popped up while we were on, and they prefer this format. To be honest, they prefer
I think
it.
so.
Yeah.
That surprises me not at all.
Oh God.
So, this brings us to our main topic today, which I think this is going to be like an infinite debate, but it's a really good question, and you alluded to it a little bit in your discussion about why the Midnight Suns has turned on you, or rather turned your stomach, and it's our main topic is how to use your activations. Like in this game, most of the time you only have maximum 12 opportunities to do something on a usual game. Sometimes you'll get 14 opportunities if you're continuing to tie in that rare instance, or maybe less because the game ends on turn 4. So if you're looking on average approximately 11 actions maybe a game, if you're never getting staggered, if you're never losing, if you're ever getting dazed, for example. How do you use those 2 activations? Are you using them to move others and yourself, or are you using them to roll dice? Because one of them has little or perhaps 0 variance, and one of them has pure variance is what it is to a certain degree, depending upon who you're rolling. When you're rolling X23, it doesn't feel like pure variance. But a lot of characters, you just roll 4 or 5 dice and hope that you just get something great, and that's all you have is hope. So, Jeremy, this was your idea. I'm curious, what inspired this debate of how do you feel whenever you have an activation for a character? What do you feel like is the best use of an activation?
The best activation are the characters that can basically punch something, and then move something or throw something away. I.e., Vision. Vision is one of the most perfect models I think there is. He kind of does it all. He can attack multiple people. He gets guaranteed power, and he can also throw shit. He can take a model and move it. That's the best use. So what happens when you know that that's the best use, yet all these other cool things are out there, and you want to kill stuff or whatever? Like, my problem lies in that I find trying to kill things is so random in this game, and it's just frustrating to no end. Yeah, I haven't found the right spot for that. It seems like the game of pushing and pulling models. I feel like Web Warriors can win games and like guarantee wins, whereas Midnight Suns can't guarantee anything. They're going to do their best, and maybe 51% of the time they'll win with a great player, and 49 they aren't going to win because they just can't damage enough. I don't know.
So, I mean, it is true that you're definitely going to get the thing that you want out of the activation where you move somebody, right? Because your opponent usually can't do anything about it unless they have unless they're Jean Grey, right? And they have a lot of power somehow, right? So it seems like they're adding very slowly things into the game that prevent this from happening, right? Like the new tactics card, Indomitable, which says you can't throw me, right? You can't do it this time. Do you think that brings the stock of movement tech down at all, or is it still just too premium, still just too good?
I mean, it's still really good. You can still do it, like you're saying. You can move a model or throw a model 6 times or 5 times, most likely.
Mhm.
Whereas attacking, you might do damage, you might not. And doing damage is giving your opponent power to then throw you.
One of the things I have noticed about this game that I think they're always giving a little bit of power to the mover, not the one being moved defensively, is so many things say you cannot be advanced. And you're like, oh, shit. So anything that throws me can just throw me? Well, yeah. So anything that places me can just place me? Well, yeah. Like, okay. Well, surely that's not really hard to find in this game. You know, look over to 7 characters in the game that don't advance you. They, just
Yeah,
place you, and the 18 characters that just throw you, and you're like, oh, okay, well, surely those are some side characters, and you're just like Thanos, and you're like, oh, well, shit.
yeah.
These are keystone characters that you can be sure you're going to see. Um, so yeah, your character can't be advanced, but they're sure as shit being all these other things.
So
They're so
I guess one thing that always comes to mind with this conversation is how is so the reason Black Order wins so much. Okay, so they have probably the best board controller in the game, Thanos, Space Gem, Mind Gem, and his portal, so he can do 3 things, if not 4, if he has enough power and he portals twice or whatever. I think he can portal multiple things. Um,
mm,
and then they have the best killer in the game, Corvus, with the his gem,
reality.
reality gem, and they also can place themselves anywhere on the board next to each other whenever they want to, and they basically have the power to do it. So they kind of sort of ignore rules for damaging other models because Corvus rolls so many dice and they're such good dice. Basically saying that your dice pool is going to equal damage for the most part. And Thanos says, I don't have to fight you at all. Thanos doesn't even have to throw a punch. He's an 8-point model that doesn't actually damage things, yet he can win games. So Black Order does kind of all of the things, and they're very successful in both categories. And they only have 3 models a lot of times. I don't know, chew on that. What does that mean?
Yeah. Um, One of the things about the Thanos, you say like he doesn't have to kill you. It's so funny. Every time I played against Thanos, I looked at the board and goes, he really didn't need to kill me, but he sure did.
He
Like
sure did.
he had so many ways to just ignore my model, but you know what? He did it also. So that's cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing about Thanos is he's getting to kill you and also ignore you. Um, it's everything he does is a bitch slap, right? It's all just a backhand. That panel in the comic books wherever it's just like a little star pattern after it looks like somebody's about to like a character's about to give you a high five, but you look slightly to the side of them and it's a little star, and then the other character's just flying like head over heels. That's what Thanos does
Yeah.
to you every time he like gazes upon you. It's a little different now that he can't time stone. That's a big difference, actually, that he can't time stone. But it still feels like he
I
has all that
think it's
control. He may not automatically
he
kill you
can't
with that
punch
the
you
extra
3
restoration,
times.
but
That's what changed.
yeah,
So he doesn't fight
yeah,
you like he used to. He could actually fight you
uh,
before.
yeah. But it is true that if you just throw in, you don't need to saturate. Like one of the things I was thinking about with the control list I was wondering about in Cabal. At first, I was like, okay, I'll put every single possible control model I could fit into this list. And I got done. I was like, wait a minute, do I need to do that? Probably not. Um, I'm not doing this where it's like one control effect on each character spread out to every character like Web Warriors kind of has. It's really I was putting in like models that had multiple control effects, and I had multiple of them, and I realized it was probably oversaturation. You're giving a really good example of Black Order just has one character that controls very efficiently, and that's really all you need to feel like you're ragdolling your opponent. Um, Wherever he goes, it's not so much death follows, but just displacement follows.
Hmm.
Right? You're going to
He
be
can
displaced. You're
unravel.
not
He can unravel your turn.
right. And because this game is based so much upon actions, and one of them is move, not only are you gaining incredible board presence and perhaps points, you're also actually adding health to your character when you move someone. When you move a character back, unless they have an ability that says, I will go right back to where I was, some characters do, some characters don't. But if they don't have the ability to go right back to where they were, um, then you effectively just rob them of one of their actions. You took one of those precious, like 11 or so actions that they have, that you just took it out of the game. And that effectively adds health to you. If they're a beat 'em up model, even someone like Hulk who gets 3 power a game, that's now not 3 power he has because he has to Hulk leap right back towards you, right? Um, so one of the things that's unwritten about this is the first thing you're like, oh wow, control characters that are going to be able to move me around are definitely going to have an advantage on scenario in which in which I have to stand in a space to get me points to win. But they're also, what it says is, man, a control character is just going to not receive as many attack dice. They're just not going to. A lot of things about Thanos says he should live longer, and he does live a fairly long time. But I think the real reason why he does is he's just, like you said, he's messing with your plan. He's displacing the other army so well that they struggle to commit. And this is why I'll actually say the whole argument was, what's better, moving versus rolling? In my personal opinion, if you want to roll, and that's what you want to do, you should take almost exclusively high range and mobility models, because you need to constantly be rolling, I think. So if you're not taking high range or high mobility models, you better have some really weird and good plan. Like, for example, my rapid fire plan is a really weird and perhaps good plan, because yes, you're going to have to move to get into position, but then you're going to shoot twice, which is functionally the same thing you would do as if you just stood still and shot twice. The best version of that is Winter Soldier, who stands still and shoots twice because he has a movement effect and a range 5 gun. So like, he's the premium version of that. Ghost Rider is a premium version because he's almost always going to have 3 power, and so he's going to move and attack. So I think any model in the game that has a really consistent to get charge is the best version, or a consistent movement, a really long range gun. Is if you want to roll dice and you look at your army and they only have range 2 and 3 attacks, you better have a really good excuse for that, because you're not going to win on attrition that way. I don't think you win on attrition that way consistently. Maybe you do sometimes against somebody else doing a fair list, but I think you're going to lose on attrition, because I agree with you. I think if there was just a decision, everyone right now decide moving versus rolling, I think moving actually wins every time. Moving your models, moving your opponent's models. I think it's just better.
There's just so much randomness in the D8 system. Like, it's just not. It just feels like it's not a smooth curve at all. I mean, if we roll 1,000 dice, it might smooth out and look like a proper curve. But it seems like, during the game, you've got what, 5 models rolling, 5 dice apiece, 25, 6, whatever. Like, you're not even coming close to 1,000. So like, and we all know, you sit there and wait, and you have your turn where you roll bad, and you're like, well, hopefully it swings around. And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it just doesn't. It's just weird. Like,
I actually think this is why X-23 feels so badass in the game right now. Is she moves herself for really cheap, so she's going to be able to roll her attacks. She re-rolls a dice, so every time she rolls an attack, she's actually adding 1 dice to that roll worth of variance, right? She's getting an extra functional dice. And they have Pierce, so her dice become better than your opponent's dice, because when they're a wild dice, they're worth more in the game. So she has all these little things that stack up on top of one another, that lots of characters in the game have 1 of these, or a few, or 2 of these, but she's the only one that has all 3. And by the way, she's only 3 points. That other 1 point worth of value is going into another model that can produce some offense as well. So as Wolverine has some of these things too, he doesn't have the reroll, which again is bad, but Wolverine costs an extra point for this same kind of premium stuff. So that is a point you're not getting on the other model who could be contributing fantastic dice. This is why I think if you're trying to roll dice, and you're watching people roll dice, and your army is a fair army rolling dice, and then you see X-23 for the first time, and you get rolled by her, and she feels so amazing, and you're like, why is she so amazing? And just it turns out she just does the thing you need to do if you're rolling dice. You need to be making your dice more valuable, rolling them more often, moving while you do it, so you're always being able to commit your dice, and you need to do it for a premium cost so that your other models can be doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why characters that are really, really good, like War Machine, just feel okay. Have like 3-game slumps where they never really do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, wow, he never did anything. No, he didn't, because he had to move or attack at range 3. Like, that's it. Like, so he's only going to get to do that a couple times in a game, and he only rolls so many d8s, and d8s just don't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm. That's true. So that's, I mean,
Um,
that's been my experience lately. I've been playing a lot of 5e lists, and it just becomes kind of frustrating at times. And I find that I either win pretty hard, or I will lose, and I feel like I did the same thing I did in the game I won really hard. It doesn't feel like there's mistakes or anything. It just feels like, I guess this one isn't in the cards for me. Like
yeah,
Hulk can't kill anything this game. That's interesting.
yeah. Well, Hulk can definitely not roll a lot of dice. Um, but hopefully he's contributing in some other way because he's throwing your opponent's models
Yeah,
or
he has his own thing.
taking a lot
He
of
can
dice.
he can do stuff. But I mean, you're playing 6 points for him. For God's sake, you better.
Mm,
Uh,
yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why. And actually, this is actually a good point. You just mentioned it, which is if you look at this game, once you reach that 5-point and 6-point level, so many 5 and 6-point characters. I'm just because they say 5+ have movement effects boiled into them, and the reason why is that is stronger. It is stronger.
mhm,
um, it will help you feel like they are doing more to affect the game, because that is the most effective way to use your turn, is to move other models. Hulkbuster and Magneto and Doctor Strange, they feel amazing because they're moving your opponent's models around. And this is also why, conversely, let's see, just pick somebody. This is why Cable and Black Bolt don't feel like that, because
Cable moves
Cable and Black
himself though.
Bolt.
Black Bolt doesn't.
That's true. I will say that. Yeah, Cable does move himself. He does have one movement thing, and but he's not moving opponents.
Correct.
And so many others on the list move opponents. Um, Angela's another one who doesn't move opponents. She absolutely moves herself. She's going to move like a fucking bat out of hell, but she doesn't move opponents. Amazing Spider-Man, same thing. He's going to move himself for sure, but he doesn't move opponents. So he's these models, Cable, Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, rather, and Angela are in that category where you're probably going to roll a lot of dice because you're moving and attacking all the time. Cable actually feels really good if you want to roll attack dice, because he probably rolls 2 attacks turn 1,
Hmm.
and every turn after he probably rolls 2 attacks. Um, but Black Bolt feels horrible because
he really he
because
needs a dog. So he's an 8-point model that
because
has a movement.
you've got to spend 8 points to make him place with another character, which, by the way, feels horrible because it telegraphs everything, right? Um, in a game where it's I move, you move, I move, you move, and Black Bolt has to spend a 3-point model's activation to move, and then your opponent gets to decide what to do to him, is just so dumb. It makes him feel so bad.
Yeah,
And
Black Bolt
this is
really is an
why.
anomaly.
Yeah, he's really strange. When you look at his base attacks, though, he looks like a monster. Like, he really does. But then when you play him, you're like, oh shit, this just doesn't work. And I think the reason why it feels so lackluster is exactly all the things you just talked about. If you're rolling dice, you've got to be doing it and moving and committing really consistent dice,
Yeah.
or both. And he doesn't do that. And he doesn't throw. He doesn't move anybody. So
Yeah,
this is what, yeah,
I've always had kind of a checklist for like what's going on in the list and in your list and in your models, and it's like, what do you do? Are you charging? Are you throwing something? Do you get extra like what do you do? And
Mhm.
what's interesting is a lot of the lists I've played lately don't do anything. like like I say, like
Mhm.
uh, Midnight Suns, they don't. Yeah, they don't do anything. Like they get to attack
Right.
extra with their little siege thing, and they get to place themselves. But again, you know how far that's going to be, and you need power to do it. If your opponent just doesn't give you any power, it's really funny because you're like, I'll
Mhm.
move, and then it's just kind of like they got to get their own power and do their own thing. It's ugh.
Here's an interesting thing. Here's an interesting. Yeah, this is interesting. Um, I actually just found I was looking at other thinking about my statement of how if you've got like a 5 point model, in order to feel like you're really affecting the game, it's why they tend to bake these two features that we've talked about, either high ability to commit dice
Hmm.
or control effects or both. I found a character that feels good but doesn't have either, and that's Scarlet Witch. I think it's just because they made her dice so efficient with the skulls by baking in the reality stone, like permanent reality stone into her dice. I
Yeah,
think
she
that's
has the
why
Corvus. She has
she
the
feels
Corvus
good.
syndrome.
Yeah,
Her dice are better than your dice.
right. I think that's how they get away with that. So
But
you will feel that your dice are better than hers, kind of in the same way I mentioned with the presence of
mhm.
Pierce. I'm sorry, you were saying you said
Oh,
what?
I was just thinking she, as a 5 point model, as good as she is, she really isn't taken that often these days. I mean,
Hmm.
she really is very static, and she has to chase you down. If you can move her every turn, she gets to do one thing. She just does one thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. You need to. She feels like right now. I feel like she's strapped to exactly um, A Force
Yeah,
because
I agree.
her and She Hulk feel so cool together. They She Hulk does all the things that she wants to do. A Force stops her from moving for a turn, the crucial turn where you need to commit her. Awesome dice, and she is not made of paper when she has the big green pillar of salt next to her. Um, so
Yeah, and Brotherhood got
yeah, she feels
Juggernaut, so they don't need another 5 pointer.
right. Right. And Juggernaut's all about the mobility again. He's always going to be able to commit his dice. He doesn't roll twice when he commits it, like Amazing Spider Man, but he does roll a lot of dice when he commits it. So he doesn't
Hmm.
have to roll two smaller attacks. He's rolling one big one, but he's also doing plink damage where it doesn't require dice, and he does have a throw just once per game with the card. So he does plenty of extra things. Um, yeah, I think those are the I think those are the only two models that kind of stood out as not having those two things were Black Bolt and Scarlet Witch. But again, we did say that Scarlet Witch's dice are better than yours, which is kind of like having Pierce on a wild. Um, when your dice are better than everybody else's, it does feel like you're doing something. But man, that poor
Hmm.
fucking Black Bolt, man.
Yeah, he really got it, didn't he?
Man, because he's got. When you look at his basic attack, it is X-23's attack. It's a 5 dice, um, Wild Pierce with a reroll gains power.
Uh-huh.
It's range 4 and energy. That's just straight up better.
Yep.
But it costs 2 more points on a model that can't position himself
Nope.
in any way. And
Nope.
so, when do you ever get to do his thing on his backside? I guess. Ugh, it's.
Yeah, X-23 will do
Mm,
it to you 3 times.
yep.
Like she's just sick. Like
Yeah.
Black Bolt could be
Oh, and
four
by the way,
points, and all of a
right.
sudden that faction would open up. I mean, wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah.
They'd be like, "That's fine."
Oh, finally a 4 point character you feel good about in Inhumans. Honestly, I think Medusa actually is probably still just fine. She got quote unquote nerfed, not maybe actually nerfed, but
She does all the things we just talked about. By the way, for 4 points,
hmm
moves
yeah, she
herself,
does.
moves people, throws things.
hmm Does she even throw people? Still, I think she does.
With
Let
I
me look.
believe so. Yeah, I believe she
It's been so
pushes,
long since I looked at her card. Yeah, enemy character size 3 or less and throws it. Yeah, yeah, she does actually all those things. Yeah,
and she's just
that's why
she's
even
stupid.
she lost her she lost her easy flurry, but she's still very very good.
And if she had a decent model, I'd play her.
Yeah, she does look like she's got like underwater hair kind of. It's not exactly alive. It's more just like a big mass.
Yeah, I just think I don't know. Just a wad of hair. I can't get over it. It just looks dumb.
Yep. Anywho, um Speaking of love for Guardians, if you feel like you've exhausted this topic, I
I'm
feel like we got
done.
it. I feel like we nailed it.
We did. We really did a
No
great job.
notes. No notes. So I've got if for those of you guys who are Guardians fans, and also if you like X-23, she's also in this issue. I have a comic corner for you. It's a Guardians of the Galaxy and all new X-Men crossover. For those of you who are unaware, um, right after Cyclops went crazy, spoiler alert, he became Dark Phoenix for a couple seconds and killed Professor X. Um, Beast took it upon himself to, in a moment of racked with guilt and misunderstanding about how his life turned up so upside down, he thought, you know what, I bet it would be better if Scott just understood how far he's come. So he decides, in his magnanimity, to pull the original X-Men team of uh, uh, Iceman, Original Beast, Jean Grey, Cyclops, and Angel from like the 50s or whatever it was, or 60s, and just sucks them out using time travel and brings them to the present MC universe. And if that sounds like a really bad idea, it is instantly. I think it's really weird that Hank McCoy, depending upon who's writing him, sometimes he is this super hokey, like, oh, my stars and garters, let me do a couple leaps and punch this guy with the back of my heel. Or he's this incredible egomaniac, horrible self esteem combination. I don't understand this character a lot of the time. But anyway, this issue that I'm talking about, the only reason why I mentioned how this happens is if you picked up Guardians of the Galaxy All New X-Men, you would go, what the fuck? Why are all these characters so young? And why is Beast not blue? It's because these are actually the original X-Men moved forward in time by Beast, and that was the reason why. So during their adventures, as it turns out, the Shi'ar Empire finds out that Jean Grey is alive again. And for those of you who don't know their ancient Marvel history, when Jean Grey was taken over by the Phoenix, she completely destroyed several like Shi'ar homeworlds, like vaporized them. And so when Gladiator, the current regent of, at the time, the regent of the Shire Empire, finds out that she's alive again, he's like, well, she needs to fess up for these crimes. She eradicated planets. And they try to say, but this is not really her. This is a teenage version of her that would have been like 20 years before she was ever invested with the Phoenix. He goes, don't care. She's Jean Grey. And so he goes and kidnaps her off the planet Earth. The Guardians get pissed because the Guardians put a moratorium on cosmic entities fucking with Earth, so they show up to intervene, and so now you've got the X-Men and the Guardians teaming up to go up against the Shi'ar. And if that doesn't make your whistle wet just by hearing that sentence, then I don't know what to tell you. You could go ahead and read Image Comics, I guess, because you need to read other things. It's exactly as awesome as it sounds. My favorite part of the comic, actually, is it features some of my favorite, like, not super canon X-Men. Like, X-23 is going with them. She's a member of the all-new X-Men at this point. Angela is featured prominently because she's in the Guardians at this point. Uh, Brian Bendis, the one who is writing the all-new X-Men storyline, does a great job with this kind of train wreck of a beginning plot. He makes it super interesting and awesome. And when he takes over the Guardians, he does a great job with their whole personification and who they are. And those two teams meshing is wonderful to watch. Teenagers who are out of time literally get also out of space with some of the kookiest like characters in the Marvel universe. It's Iceman and Rocket Raccoon together at the same time is exactly as funny as you think it is. And one of the cool things they do with this is they talk about, the not only the responsibility of of a crime you haven't yet committed, which is an old sci-fi trope, but Jean Grey, who is you know um, a character that is usually just kind of a vessel for bad things that happen. She's usually just kind of a center point of drama that all the X-Men kind of revolve around. Just a romantic love interest at one moment, and then a tragic figure in another. She's been killed like 5 times. But in this one, this young version is much more of an empowered character, and she just kind of says, "I am fed up with always being the fucking center of this attention," and so she kind of goes apey and shows a brand new power set that the old Jean Grey never exhibited. So basically, And here, Bendis asserts that if Jean Grey had gone through a different, set of trials when she was younger, she could have been a very different person and even a different mutant. So it's really cool that she goes toe to toe with Gladiator at one point, and it's really cool to see. So if you're a Jean Grey fan, if you love some of the side characters in Guardians or X-Men, or if you just like when you get a who's who of mutants and cosmic characters all on the same screen at the same time, all interacting, and you love that feeling of everything's, everybody's here in this party, you'll like this comic. Guardians of the Galaxy and all new X-Men: The Trials of Jean Grey, really good miniseries by Brian Bendis. Did a good job. So are you gonna go read it, Jeremy, right now?
You know what? I'm probably not, but I will wait for the upcoming movie or series on Disney Plus.
Yeah. This does have like a Disney Plus thing written all over it. If I'm sure, because it has it checks all the Disney Plus boxes. Tons of characters that everyone loves, and the opportunity for all of them to show up at the same time to cost an exorbitant amount of money, and also have a ridiculous internet presence because they're all at the screen at the same time.
Perfect. I'm in.
It's got all the things Disney Plus likes. But all right, so it looks like that's got to wrap us up for today. This has been Dr. Mantis Toboggan, MD.
This has been Jeremy by Elden Ring, you fools.
And this has been The Gang Finally Sheds the Dead Weight.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
All right. We're
cool.
live.
And I'm actually podcasting this time. It's not bullshit.
It's like real. Like it's for real.
Like real.
If people ask, you'll actually be able to tell them, "Hey, look at me. Look what I'm doing."
Podcasted.
I'm podcasting.
I'm doing it without training wheels. I feel like I'm wobbling in the cul-de-sac right now.
Jesus Christ.
And Brandon's behind me just
Does anyone know? Do you feels just a slightly like you found your dad's like Playboys? You're like, "Oh no."
The best part is, by the way, for anyone who's listening to this, we are not going to edit this at all. We're just going to give it to Brandon at some point, and he's going to do his magic.
This is raw dog. It's happening.
Yeah. He's going to listen to this and wonder, I guess I have to try to print this somehow.
I doubt he'll listen to it. That's the best part. We'll have to put some sort of fucking code.
Just go up there. There's the start and play.
Most likely.
I like it. Okay, so tell me about Elden Ring, because everybody I love and care about has told me that this game is both a blessing and a curse. Is that a good description, or is it just a blessing?
So it's Dark Souls with training wheels. Like Dark Souls would say you have to walk across the continent, as in Breath of the Wild style. Like the world is open, go. No horse, no nothing. You have to walk. You walk every time. Every time you die, it's hours to get back where you're at. That's Dark Souls, okay? That's who made this game. It is not different in graphics and style than Dark Souls. Exactly the same. There's the duck and move and jive and then get punched in the head and you die from it. Like, it just is. However, they have given you a horse, which allows you to tear ass through the entire game. Like, you just go fast now. And he just goes. Like, you can't really be hit. He just fucking tears ass across the continent. Goes forever, super fast. Then, there's like little save spots all over the place. Where Dark Souls, you had to earn it. Like, you had these campfires, and every time you got to one, you're like sweating bullets. It's been hours. You're like ready to throw the game in the trash. And you're like, I finally made it. And you save, and you're like, oh, thank Christ. Nah, this one, there's save spots everywhere. Basically, the threat of actual danger isn't there. With that said, the open world adventure that is in Elden Ring is phenomenal. You never know what's around every corner. There's something different, something new, something weird. And it's just intriguing. Like everywhere you go, there's some giant monster thing that's like the size of a house and has different ways of attacking, and you got to figure it out. Um, but yeah, if anyone interested or has played Dark Souls and didn't hate it, Elden Ring is for them.
Mhm.
If you think it's Skyrim, wrong. It is not Skyrim. You cannot just walk
Mm.
around and do what you want. Elden Ring is not that. It's totally different than that. Um, Music's great, bosses are cool, everything's cool, but it is hard as fuck in a lot of ways. Like the bosses do not mess around, and they do take certain amounts of like play it 300 times, and you'll finally dodge and roll at the right time, and you'll finally kill the guy you're trying to kill, and you'll feel great about it. That's kind of it. That's it in a nutshell.
Mhm. The one thing that I really liked about Dark Souls, I played, I think, Dark Souls 2, I think, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't hate it.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I did eventually, well, what's the best way to put it? I was like, I don't know if this is going anywhere, is actually what
Mm-hmm.
I kind of got to. Not mad that I'd played it, not like regretting anything, but I'm just like, where's this going? What am I doing? And I just kind of wandered away from it. Like a Vikings, going over the horizon. I was just like, I'll just do something else.
Yeah.
Um, but I will say that one of the things I love about the Dark Souls that I really appreciated is there were lots of moments in the game where I was like, you know what? I just don't want to fight the dragon like this. This looks like a really stupid idea. Well, look underneath the bridge. I could just go down there and just shoot arrows from underneath its like armpit. Yeah, it would
Yeah.
take me 4 hours, but I would eventually kill
Yep.
it. Like I really liked that about that game, that it was a tunnel game, right? Like you were on a rail, but the rail had like just like open shit around it. You could hang underneath the rail and still kill things. I
Mm-hmm.
really appreciated that. And it was the parts of the game where you were thrown into a pit with a giant spider that I didn't like, because there was no getting away from it. I just had, like you said, I just had to dodge exactly correctly 80 times in a row. And I would rather have been given almost like a puzzle game, like what I felt some of
Yeah.
the game was. And I've heard, or what I understand, is that this game is more like that first kind of encounter which I described, where because everything is so open,
Yes.
the game is very open. There's a lot of opportunities for you to go, no, I think going straight at this thing is the wrong idea. I'm going to do this weird tangential solution because the game lets me.
Well, what's funny is, like you say, you go around it. One of the ways to go around it is go level, where Dark Souls really didn't let you grind. It had hard stop
Right.
walls. It was very linear. This
Mhm.
game, you're like, this guy beat my ass. You're like, I will be back, motherfucker. So then you
Mhm.
come back and you're like, what do
Right.
you feel about lightning? What do you feel
Yeah.
about dragon fire? Like, and you
Mhm.
can like do interesting, fun things like that. And at the end of the day, you can go grind a bit, however long it takes, and then just go beat the thing's ass if you need to, or just ignore it entirely. So far, I've only found a couple hard walls where it was like, you have to do this to cross the bridge to go further in the game. But
Mhm.
like all the other Souls games, you simply draw something on the floor and someone comes and helps you. Like you just get
Mhm.
past it. You're like, cool, thank you, and move on.
Mhm.
Um, the sense of adventure is really alive in it, and also the sense of achievement. Like when you take down
Mhm.
some of this nonsense, like you really feel like you did something, which is pretty
That's
cool.
cool. I also something else that the original Dark Souls was missing is I really like to dress up my knight. I like to make him look
Yeah.
pretty, and I liked him to have a theme and shit. And
Uh-huh.
so the other Dark Souls game, the armor, it's not that the art style was bad. I think it was cool. Like they
Uh-huh.
made everything have a lot of character, but there was no differentiating. You were just knight guy, like bland
Mhm.
knight guy. And in this one, as I understand it, I haven't got to play yet, but as I understand it, you make actually a lot of decisions about your character, and
Yeah.
that changes your style and your look. And you can spend time investing into certain stats and skills, and then find equipment that supports that style.
Mhm.
And that's super traditional, like RPG stuff.
Yep.
But I do really like that aspect, because that lets me do my favorite thing, which is watch videos and research things for hours and hours.
Yeah.
I am that horrible, horrible like gamer that my brother hates, because before I start a game, I will learn all about the game for
Mhm.
just hours. I will read reference text after chart and document, poring over them to make a plan for how I'm going to play the game, and then I'll play it. And I love every second of that.
Elden Ring
Man,
isn't terrible about that. I mean, that's actually a
yeah,
really good way to do it,
yeah,
because just running about getting murdered nonstop isn't that much fun. Have a
and
goal.
and that's exactly what my brother is struggling with right now. He's like, this game. I says, I know this game is supposed to be good, but I really don't like that I can't just play it. Like I have to be thinking about all
Yeah.
these things all the time.
So
Thinking about, like you
yeah.
said, long-term planning. And he's like, I just want the game to happen at me and for me to have to deal with it. And it's not the way it's working out for him.
So my only real criticism about it that's not cool is some of the quest lines, or let me just say most of the quest lines, without assistance from online resources that have been compiled over the last month that the game's been out. It's only been out a month and a half. But without the online resources, you would never in a million years figure out the 14-step process of getting the Twizzle stick knife or whatever the fuck it's called.
Right.
And you just miss that. You'll just miss that without research. Like, you have to go online and research it, because you truly, it's as obscure as go to this part of the woods, snap your fingers. If you do that, a guy will come out as a wolf, and you talk to the wolf. Then you go to 3 other people you've already talked to in the order I'm telling you. Do that, and the door will open. And it's fucking ridiculous. It's like 15
Yeah.
steps to
Yeah.
do a thing, and you never would come across that just wandering
Yeah.
about the game. And there's lots of that.
Mhm.
And so
Now,
that's
go
really,
ahead.
as a completionist that some people are, I'm not. So I could care less. I don't care about that stuff that much. But as a completionist, it would make you insane.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that things are really organic in that, you could go your whole life and maybe never meet your true soulmate, because there's a lot of people in the world, and they're separated by a lot of space. Hell, one of them might speak fucking French and live in
Yeah.
Quebec, and you have no idea how to meet that person, right?
Exactly.
And that's kind of how Elden Ring works. Like, you may not ever find your one true item that you needed if you just play it blind, right? If you play it with no support. If you don't have a fucking Tinder functionally, that's going to
Yeah.
help you connect to people,
Yeah.
because they tried to make it feel that open and vast, and also fate based, kind of just like where you're just like lucking into things. Which they're not doing it the luck style of like Diablo or Destiny, where you just get infinite items constantly and you're looking for the perfect one. Instead, they're just like infinite space, infinite time, and then maybe you meet somebody in that space that gives you something that works. I do think it's really cool. Even though the researching part of me really, really, really wants to do that, and I don't think I can play that game without just like pouring myself into the text and lore and learning all about it. I don't think I'll be able to enjoy it. But there's part of me that wants to just briefly like play through it for a little while researching nothing. Because wouldn't it be really interesting? Wouldn't it be like an amazing gaming moment to just wander along, like you said, like a wolf in the forest, and he goes, you need to go do this, and you like work really hard to figure it out, and it gives you like exactly the thing you want. Like, you didn't know it was going to be the thing you want. It just gives you this sword that's perfect for your character. You're like, oh my god, my soulmate. Like, wouldn't that feel awesome? It would feel so special. But the chances of that happening are like you finding your actual soulmate in real life. Like, that's what they tried to do. They made it that may be difficult.
As a Souls game, a From Software game, the dude that makes the games, honestly, if you do any sort of research or any sort of like online wiki article stuff on Souls games, trying to figure out what the fuck is actually going on is damn near impossible. So you're like, who are the people in the trees doing the what with the who? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And these people are why? Like, it's just some bizarre, crazy Japanese shit that may make sense in Japan, historical, like, I don't know. But man, it is odd. And again, you'll do these crazy quests, and if you don't know what you're going to get, you could accidentally happen upon some sort of thing that's a ring that you should never ever have, that fits a different character entirely, that is trash to you. Like you're like, what did I just do?
Mhm.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I was reading online. Sorry, I was watching a quick video. It was popped
Mhm.
up on one of my random feeds. It was like, would you like to play as a samurai in like the first 20 minutes?
Mhm.
This is how you do it. And so the guy just starts like running through. He's like, okay, this is from the like place you get the horse.
Yeah.
Go this way. And he like goes through this thing and he drops. And he's like, now drop into this hole. And he like drops into this hole.
Yep.
There are thousands. There's like there are a dozen like these weird monsters around you, just zigzag like this. And so he just
Yeah.
like, and then he goes, and now open up this bridge. The bridge actually brings you to a different like subcontinent or something.
Yeah.
And he goes through that, and he goes right next to this. If you go to the left, you'll find a little save point. One of the things you talked about.
Yep.
And he's like, no, click that save point. Now turn around and go back into the portal. You need that save point in case something fucks out with you as you go to the other area. Like,
Yep.
if you're like, okay. And he's like, but if you do all these things in this order, it's actually really easy to get this sword. And now you have the sword of, like you said, like Dragonfire, and
Yep.
lets you hold the sword in one hand and cast a giant fireball in the other. And you're like, this is really good if you're playing this exact kind of character. And I was like, oh, well, see, that's like, I get how if you'd played 140 hours of that game and you'd gone through all those things already the long way, you could probably work out how to do this backwards. I'm sure that's some way that these content creators are making this stuff. But like you said, what if you had done something the long way trying to get that, and then you got it and you're like, okay, cool. I'm playing a samurai character, so this means fuck all, moving on. Like, that's all that happened. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know that the game would be half as popular if there wasn't like online resources. I mean it's literally impossible without having to use the world's information to gather up each step for these crazy quests. I mean it's truly impossible like to do some of these things if it wasn't for like the world gathering around, putting all this information into one single wiki or whatever, because it's just ludicrous. It's hang wind chimes for 4 hours and then fight a boss. You're like, what? Like it's so dumb. Me and my friend my buddy was in town from Atlanta, and we're sitting here playing this game, and the thing we commonly were looking over at each other talking about was, this game is stupid. Like, and we love it to death, but it's stupid as fuck. Like, you're like, you do what now? And snap your fingers in the woods, and the wolf howls, and you're like, well, by God, it worked. And then this guy appears, and you're like, okay, talk to the guy. And it's just dumb. Like, there's no sense in, like, how did this just happen? Like, we just kind of learned about, like, this is how to get this weapon. So you just start along this path to do these things, and you're like, by God, it's working. It doesn't make any sense.
That is both my nightmare and my dream. But I think it's just that's what it is, right?
Yeah,
so like that's how nightmares start, right? I think it's often started out as dreams. I could be so excited, and then
and my young kids keep asking, "What's the story?" I'm like, "It's Lord of the Rings, but
There.
weird. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's weird. I don't know.
Yeah, don't try to make sense of it. And that's actually my brother's favorite part. He's like, at least there's no fucking lore.
True
I don't
enough.
want to know about it. I don't want to know any of this. I don't care about this shit. Just like, oh, what are you, like a Western guy? What are you, like a spaghetti monster? Let's just go ahead and do this. Like
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah, 100%.
I don't care. Yeah, I don't.
It's like,
I don't
how many arms?
he's
My
very
God.
much.
There's like so the enemies are pretty standard issue. You have zombies, you have monsters, you got monsters with more than one arm. They've got a new one. There's a new monster that I've never seen in my whole life. Over this swamp, there's these hot air balloons that are about the size of, I don't know, a car. They're about a balloon the size of a car, and they're about, I don't know, 20 feet up, and they have 4 dudes who have themselves like cinched to it. And as soon as you walk by, they uncinch themselves and they fall to the ground and attack you. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's some
Wow.
Mad Max shit right there. That's some stuff they dream up for post-apocalyptic. That's awesome.
And it was really funny because when we went upon them, we're like, I wonder if they fall from those balloons. Because you could see kind of what they were doing. Sure enough, you get near them, they drop from the balloons and they start attacking you. And you're like, well, by God, there it is. Funny.
That's awesome. Okay, speaking of lore, I want to change the subject slightly. Have you seen the Book of Boba Fett? Have you watched it?
No, I have not.
Okay. Darn it. I really wanted to geek out about the Book of Boba Fett.
You can.
I can't
I don't-
remember. Are you a Star Wars fan much at all? I can't even remember if we've ever had a Star Wars conversation.
So, as awesome things go, I don't know anything about Star Wars lore. I know I've watched the movies. I enjoy them. Basically, I know more about Star Wars than maybe my parents do, but that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah, like
I will say that. Did you watch The Mandalorian? Did you?
yeah,
I
did.
that?
I loved it. I saw it twice.
Okay. Well, there you go. If you watch season 1 and 2, then I'm guessing.
Yep.
Okay. So if you like The Mandalorian, let me make you this promise.
Okay.
Because you like The Mandalorian, you will love the Book of Boba Fett.
Okay.
You will love it. Because
I did watch like the first 4 episodes. I did watch some of it.
Of the book?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That is exactly why the Book of Boba Fett was bad. Is the first 4 episodes.
Yeah, I was like bored.
Yes, because as it turns out, and this may be our very first hate mail we get on this podcast because of the statement I'm about
Yes.
to make. Which is as it turns out, I think Boba Fett is a boring character. I think he is. Like I own several Boba Fett graphic novels.
Okay.
I have one of the old school Dark Horse prints of they made of him. I have the original Death, Lies, and Treachery, the very first comic they ever made with featuring him by himself, and I love them. That Boba Fett was fantastic. The Boba Fett we meet in this show just seems like a tired fat old man, and I'm not mad about what they tried to do with him, but I know a lot of super fans are super mad. Like, this is not my Boba Fett, not my Boba Fett kind of sign and poster shit. And I don't feel that way because I think it's fine that they chose to write him like this. Because I think if you were a tired old man, you probably would be tired of that bullshit that they always wrote him in, right? So I think from that perspective, it's not weird what they did with him. However, as it turns out, a crime boss in the Star Wars universe that wants to rule through respect and just can't get no respect is kind of a dumb story. It's just boring. However, for reasons that I don't understand, I don't know if it was a producer's decision or I think it's probably a Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni decision is what my gut tells me. They just kind of stop making the show about Boba Fett entirely. Like,
really?
He just leaves the show for one entire episode.
Oh God!
And it's just the Mandalorian, the child, Luke Skywalker, and Ahsoka Tano, R2-D2.
Oh really?
Like, yes, it's just Mandalorian season 2.5. It's not even like we see Boba Fett for a moment and he's like, I wonder if there are any other Mandalorians. Switch to the Mandalorian. No. Opening scene, Mandalorian is assaulting a crime boss. The rest of the episode about him. That's it.
Wow.
So if you watch the end of the episode, I think the episode 4, I think that's the right episode, is at the end, Boba Fett says, he's like, I think we're going to need some muscle. And then Shand says, I think I know someone. And then you hear the doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo, that oboe thing. That episode ends that way. The next episode features Boba Fett, 0 moments. It's just about the Mandalorian. And it doesn't have anything to do with Boba Fett. It's just the Mandalorian dealing with the fallout from season 2. He's going to go do something now because the child's no longer with him and he has a hole left in his heart. And he's going to try to find the other Mandalorians that survived that original attack on their enclave in season 1. And you catch up with them and you see all them again. He's dealing with having possession of the Darksaber and what does that mean for himself and his people. And then, holy shit, I'm not spoiling anything because there's so much more to this. And then after the first 15 minutes of just holy amazing God, I love this show so much. Why wasn't this the thing I was watching? It switches to Luke Skywalker training Grogu on Awesome Jungle Planet. And you're like, and I was beside myself. I was like, this is amazing. I started squealing when I saw what they were doing. I was like, are they really going to let me watch Grogu get Jedi trained on this cool fucking jungle planet? And that's what it was. That's what it was for the next 50 minutes.
What the fuck?
It's just, And so the end of that episode is, why does the Mandalorian, why do we need to know what the Mandalorian is doing? Well, he's going to go help Boba Fett. And so then the rest of the show is the Mandalorian story plus Boba Fett story together, which, by the way, I'm going to let you watch it. But I actually believe that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau love the Mandalorian so much that it's the Book of Boba Fett started with, man, Boba Fett has a problem, and ends with, Din Djarin better fix this problem, and so he does. The end. You're just like, I'm just like, what? I'm pretty sure Boba Fett is not the hero of this story, and the real hero comes in Act 4 of 5. Like, this is so weird.
All right. Well, I'm sold.
Yeah. So, yeah, I started watching episode 4 last night, and I watched episode 5, 6, and 7 directly after that. I didn't go to sleep till 1 in the morning. I couldn't stop.
Huh. So, I have a question.
Mhm.
And the question is, why does Boba Fett only have one missile? What's with the big,
like in general?
The big missile
Or-
on his backpack. He has a missile. What is that about?
Like, why doesn't he carry an extra one, is what you're saying?
Or what? Yeah, I guess. Like, I've never heard of such a thing.
Well, now, here's where we get more hate mail from Star Wars nerds. But I do know something, because I've also read like all the Old Republic stuff, where like the original Mandalorian lore, a lot of that lore comes from. This is graphic novels I read, not the old novels, which are now not lore anymore. But in the old school stuff, which is not technically Disney canon anymore, Mandalorians didn't always have missiles on their backpacks. It was kind of a personal choice kind of thing, and they usually were just jetpacks. That's all they were. It's just for mobility. And so I think the jetpack that Boba Fett has with the rocket is just kind of unusual and special, and the technology that he uses is a little bit different and special. For example, you notice that every time he wants to use it, he actually has to lower that little antenna that he has on his helmet and like sight it, and that's not available in every Mandalorian like outfit. The Mandalorian, for example, Din Djarin, does not have an antenna because he doesn't have a targeting system in his helmet. So I think it's just like the variety of suit you wear, and Boba Fett's all about, extreme prejudice. So that's why I think it's just like a personal choice that warriors make.
Okay.
I don't know why a Mandalorian wouldn't carry more than one missile. It probably is just for dramatic effect, because if he had 18 missiles and a cart behind him, he could solve every problem. But that's how a Dungeons and Dragons character solves problems, right?
I thought maybe he was like licensed for one. Like, you can't have two. I
think it's more. I think it's more of a plot effect, right? Like when he uses it, he means business.
There
right?
you go.
I think it's less of a plot effect and more like an actual tactic that he definitely can use. I'm sure there's some bullshit lore out there that somebody can quote that says, the technology is super sophisticated or very difficult to procure, the kind of stuff that works with the Mandalorian backpacks, like the Empire is so defunct or whatever, or I don't know, some bullshit. But it's for example, one day I was talking to my brother about this. When the since you've seen the Mandalorian, you know that when the New Republic fighters show up and chase him through the ice planet and he ends up crashing. The first thing I did when I was watching that episode is I turned to my wife and I said, "Do they have any idea how fucking big space is?" Like the likelihood of me flying around in a spaceship the size of two Toyota Highlanders and finding another ship even as big as 2 semi-trucks is so insanely remote. Even if I had super sophisticated scanning equipment, insanely sophisticated scanning equipment, how extremely difficult that would be. It's weird that they think that you blow by people on I-70, right? You just you drive by them, and that's how big the space is. That's not how policing could possibly work in outer space. But anyway, I think it's the reason why I mentioned that scene is that scene comes back in a new flavor in that amazing episode 5. I think it's episode 5. That scene comes back. and I'm not going to spoil it for why it's different
Yeah.
and fun. But when that happened again, the first thing I thought was, how do they fucking find this guy in space? Like,
Yeah.
why are these cops always trolling around the only place the Mandalorian is? I don't
There's a lot of
understand.
them.
Even if they were just in orbit around the planet that he's by, why planets are fucking enormous. Like it would take them hours to get around the planet, even if they knew he was on the other side. Like I don't understand.
Is that
But anyway,
so? Isn't that computer game? Is it called Elite Dangerous, where you go to stars and shit?
Yeah.
That one kind of shows you how big the galaxy is, being that
Yes.
there's never anyone around ever.
No. Yeah, that game. One of the things I played that game for about 20 minutes because I played it for what felt like 7 hours, but I think I only played it for like 20 minutes.
Oh my God.
And that game was not boring. I totally get how somebody could really like it, but I was like, wow, this game does a really good job of making me feel like I'm in deep fucking space doing absolutely fucking nothing.
Yep.
And
I'm gonna go mine the sun, and you're like, okay, what else?
Just like, I would like to park my spaceship, please. You go, okay, we'll go through this 45-minute docking procedure. You're like, all right.
Perfect.
But I would just like to park my ship. And goes, yeah, well, you're in space, motherfucker. This is hard. Like, okay.
There's not a better method at this point. You have spaceships,
Yeah,
but there's no way to land auto.
Can you please just give me a cutscene like Mass Effect and let me play this fucking game? But that was Elite Dangerous. That's how you play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I think it's absolutely wonderful that a big Mandalorian fan stopped on episode 4 of the Book of Boba Fett because they found it was boring, because that's like literally like somebody complaining about being thirsty and walking through a desert and like collapsing on the sand dune before the oasis. That's what that's like. It's just right there. You just barely missed. Seriously, I will say this, and this is extremely high praise. After the last 3 episodes of that show, I am just as excited about this IP moving forward as I was about the Avengers and Marvel IP after I saw the first Avengers movie.
Lord. Wow. Okay. Bold claim.
That's how excited I was.
Okay.
And I know it's motivated entirely by Din Djarin, but they've done such a good job of building a Star Wars universe around the Mandalorian that is so fascinating and interesting. Every once in a while, I will just drop whatever the fuck I'm doing. I will just stop. I will be in the middle of my work. There's things I'm supposed to do. I work with children, and I will just stop. I'll find a quiet place, and I will just watch that scene where Bill Burr shoots that Empire guy in the face.
Oh man,
because
so good.
That scene is so amazing. The first time I saw that scene, I was like, this might be my favorite, maybe the best scene of television I have ever witnessed. This was so good. And it's all 3 of them. It's Bill Burr's just rising rage, and which, by the way, whoever cast that guy for that scene, fucking beautiful, right? Like, I don't know, do you listen to a lot of his stuff?
Oh yeah.
Like his comedy and stuff?
Oh
yeah.
yes.
Like perfect person to be pissed at exactly that.
Oh yeah.
So Bill Burr and the Empire guy is just, you hate him so fast. Whoever did that, he just did an amazing job. And then also fucking Din Djarin sitting there just like nails on a chalkboard. The whole thing, just like, oh my god, like he's already like, he feels completely pantsless, like if he just walked into an army base with 0 drawers on. Like that's how he feels with his helmet off, and he's like watching this slow butchering of a calf in front of him, and he's just got to take it, as he's watching. Oh Jesus, it's just that whole scene is so awesome. I thought I had seen really good tension building in like Quentin Tarantino movies. They're my favorite like tension building movies. I love Quentin Tarantino movies. And then I watched that scene. I was like, God damn. Pulp Fiction and my favorite tension building scene is all the ones with Hans Landa from Inglourious
absolutely.
Bastards. Like I was like, those scenes have nothing on this scene. It's so good. Anyway.
Well, we may or may not get some hate mail. I don't know. It will certainly be your fault.
Yes.
You'll get some more deductions to your
Some Boba Fett weeaboos out there would really get mad at me. I won't dig. I won't. And we probably won't. We'll probably actually get a fucking ticker tape parade because somebody online was brave enough to just say they didn't like the Boba Fett. But
Somebody was brave enough.
Nobody's brave enough. But this podcast, we break ground.
Now that we don't have Brandon holding us back,
yeah,
they're fucking wild.
Probably be able to tell the hard truths. All right. All right, I'm going to do the usual Brandon thing actually because I just realized I don't have a drink and my voice is getting a little scratchy. I'll be right back, and then we'll roll this ticker tape parade.
Okay.
All right. All right, you feel ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, my body is ready. Let's do this.
Hey guys, this is Brandon. I wasn't able to be on this episode because I was at Adepticon. I called in though and wasn't able to record my audio, so I just chatted with the guys for a few minutes.
Oh, Jesus.
So move short. Jesus Christ. I'm going to make a little note here on this. 1 hour and 2 minutes. Brandon shows up. A wild Brandon appears is what I'm going to put.
Mm-hmm.
So Brandon, did you come on here just to fuck with us, or? Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see. We're doing news. We're almost done with news. We're on the Shuriken Arashi card, the big giant ninja attack thing. No, we actually did not get to talk about these. They came out. It was an unboxing while I was on vacation, so we didn't get to. Okay. Thanks, dude.
Later.
I will.
He says hi.
Later. Okay. I'll put a little note here.
It's like we were haunted.
Yeah. Okay. Where was I? I was looking at.
Well done. Well done.
Thanks.
We did
I came up with that one a couple hours ago. I was really proud of it. It's been hard not to say before this.
Oh my God.
Because we've been mentioning him not being here so much. I was like, don't say a dead weight joke.
Don't say
a dead weight joke.
Don't do it. Who's gonna know? No one's gonna know.
Yeah.
All right, we done?
You know what? I'm gonna end this in a very traditional way.
Okay.
I am not going to tell a dumb dad joke. That's how I'm gonna do this.
Fuck. What am I gonna do with my evening?
I know.
Ponder a stupid dad joke.
Yeah. I interrupted you. Actually, what were you gonna say?
Oh no, I was just saying, are we done?
Yep, we're good.